Hello, everybody. Welcome to Kevin Plays Disc Golf. Today we have a course update video from Franklin Falls Dam in Franklin, New Hampshire from May 1st, 2026. My name is Kevin and I play disc golf. The majority of the course has remained the same from the full playthrough video in late 2024, link in the description. Most of this video will provide an update as to the locations of the new gray baskets that are on some of the holes, and I would not be surprised if more gray baskets are added in the not too distant future. The main baskets also have been updated on all of the basin holes as well. The only holes where the main basket has been moved are holes 8, 9, and B3, with hole 9 being the most significant change. As far as I could tell, none of the tees have moved with the exception of an optional gold tee for hole B2, though the tee signs have significantly deteriorated on many of the holes. This spring has been dry, and the only places where there was some marshy area now where there was not in the fall of 2024 was one area between hole B1 and B7 and one area on hole B5. Both are marked with flags, and neither are enough to cause a problem walking through them. Now we'll go to the practice basket and take a look at the first of the new baskets.
First thing to note is there is a new Chainstar Pro basket as the practice basket. I believe there are some other course configuration changes as well as some alternate baskets, so that's primarily what we'll be checking out in this video. Hole 2 is our first hole with a new basket in place. It's actually one of the old original baskets, which makes sense as to why they're called gray baskets. The primary basket that I will be playing to, I'm going to be playing the standard course configuration, is if we look at the middle tree right smack dab in the middle of the fairway, there is a cluster of 3 trees. Behind that, the basket is just behind that cluster of 3 trees off to the right. The secondary basket, the gray basket, which we can see from here, is if we look between the 2 trees on the left side of the fairway that are closest to us, off in that direction on the side of the hill is the gray basket. I will give you a closer look up once we get up there. My tee shot went straight down the middle and I am directly in between the 2 baskets. So if we look to our right, we have the main red basket over there. And if we look to our left, we have the gray basket. Again, they are both fairly heavily guarded by trees. I don't think there's a whole lot of difference in difficulty. It's just a different pin location for a different challenge. Hole 4 is our next hole where there's a gray basket in place. So where the primary basket is off into the woods through this gap out to the left, the gray basket is straight ahead. If we look between the squiggly birch tree that's kind of right smack dab in the middle of the fairway, above the green bushes that are beyond that, we can see the gray basket off the tee. This basket location pretty much eliminates the idea of trying to go out the left side and is pretty much intended to keep you to the right. We're on the last of the dirt mounds on the right side of the fairway, just before the 2 fairway options come together. And here we can see the gray basket on the top of the hill on the right, and we can see the cone on top of the primary basket down on the left. Hole 5 has another gray basket. This one I believe is a par 3. This is the first one that you can't see from the tee pad itself. The camera is about 6 feet to the left of the front of the tee pad, and if we look up and to the right of where the short tee is, up through the woods, we can see the gray basket between a couple of the narrow trees through the brush. It is very difficult to see now, and I suspect that it will be invisible. You won't be able to see it at all from this spot once the leaves in the trees start filling in. Here we're about 75 feet off the front of the short tee in the open sandy area that we can see from the long tee. And we have the gray basket to the right ahead of us. And if we look way off in the distance on the left side, we can see the main basket up that way. At hole 8, we have another gray basket. This one is straight ahead, slightly downhill. The basket's in a little bit of a basin, so this is kind of an ace run-ish deal, so you're not going to go too far long as a rollaway, even though it looks like the ground slopes down behind the basket. It really doesn't. The main basket is through this large pine tree with all the dead branches sticking out of it to the right, and is a par 4. I'm guessing that the gray basket is a par 3 here. Here's the green of the gray basket of hole 8. You can see that although it does drop down, it's very gradual until you get 40 or 50 feet past the basket. And if we turn to our right, then off in the distance through the gap up by those two V-shaped birch trees off in the distance, that is the main basket. It does appear that the main basket for hole 8 has been pushed back a bit. Here we have a post in the ground where it looks like the basket used to be. Then if we go up and beyond, we have where the basket is now. Hole 9, we have our first major change of the round. There is a gray basket. The gray basket is in the middle of the basin that the old hole 9 basket used to be in. That is a par 4, so the gray basket is generally in the direction of this clump of 3 trees off the left edge of the fairway, just off to the right of that, and the basket is wide open. The new red basket is further in the trees. It's been cleared out a little bit, and it's further around to the left and up the hill. So it's about an extra 100 feet past the gray basket and further left. That basket is in line with the tree that is left of those 3 trees that mark the left edge of the fairway. There is no good way to get there through there, so the idea is try and get something as far as you can up this hill, and if you can get over, the fairway does go left at the top of the crest of the hill, and from there we will get our first glimpse of the gray basket. And that's definitely left of where I want to be. I've been throwing everything into the ground today, and that was no exception. And kicking left here off the tee is bad. I'm not sure whether the brush here on the left side has been cleared out or it just hasn't grown in yet, but it's not too bad over here. I do have a shot to at least get to the bottom of the basin. The gray basket is in the direction of the middle of the left gap on the screen. It looks like it would be easy to go for. And then the red basket continues further around. So even though I have no backhand shot, I don't really have a good forehand option through here. So I'm going to go backhand just over the crest, just to try and get it over the crest and down where I can see the basket. I did not hear it hit anything other than the ground, so I think that's good. Ideally off the tee, this is where you would like to be unless you continue skipping over the hill and down, but we're at the crest of the hill right now. We can see the gray basket off to the right in the middle of that sandy area there. We can see the red basket off to the left. We have to look through the trees, and you may not be able to see it later in the year, but if we look at the left pine tree and go up past where the lower growing pine trees are, we can see the basket up there in the woods. As we look back at the tee, one other thing to note is there are several of these trees that have pink bands around them. Those all appear to be dead trees, and I'm guessing those are being marked to be taken down in the not too distant future. For the gray basket, the green is pretty much just this sand pit, so as long as you can get it close, it's Gonna stick where it hits. I don't think it's gonna skip or roll away too far. And we can see the red basket up past and to the left. Looking around the green of hole 9, there's a slight rollaway potential to go to the right here as we're looking at the basket, which would be further past the basket if you're thinking about the direction from the tee. Otherwise, it is fairly flat. There are a couple of these little rolly hills, and I'm guessing that these pine trees that are yearlings will be cleared out, but this is a fairly safe green once you actually make it up here. So we'll see if I can make a 20-foot bogey putt. There we go. That was a bogey 5, which I will take after a couple shots being way left in jail in the woods. To get from the new basket of 9 to the tee for 10, we walk past the gray basket. And if you're playing the short tees, the short tee for hole 10 is directly past the gray basket on the ground, and the main tee is up this path, and then at the top of this little hill we take a left, and this tee location has not changed. It's just a little bit longer walk because of the change in the pin for hole 9. Hole 10, we have another gray basket, but this is the first gray basket where I would say it is significantly more difficult than the main basket. So here we can see the left side of the red basket sticking out from around the tree, kind of out in the open on top of the hill. The gray basket we cannot see from the tee, but it is also on that ridge, but in the direction directly over the short tee. So it's quite a ways off to the right, and that's going to be a real challenge to get that there. Here we are about 150 feet off the tee at the crest of the little hill that's at the bottom of the basin, and we can see the red tee up through the gap on the left. And now we get our first glimpse of the gray basket, which is up to the right. Looking at this here, there has been a lot of brush clean out that I remember from the last time having been here. And with this much open area, I'm guessing that it will actually still remain a par 3 rather than a par 4, because it's, again, a pretty wide gap to go right up to the basket at the end here. Here at the gray basket of 10, it is fairly open right next to the basket, though there are these pine tree branches that are fairly low that do guard the basket itself. So there is a chance that if you're really going for this off the tee, that you could get a shot that bounces off these and then rolls back down the hill. Going too long isn't really an issue here, so the ground does slope away, but it's not steep enough where it's going to go too far. Here we are at hole B1, and it does look like there are new baskets on all of the basin holes, the ones I can see from here. I guess I'm throwing the disc better than I thought. This is a 20-foot putt I have for a bogey 6, which I would be absolutely thrilled with on this hole. Drop in for 7, still not bad. Just to confirm, the baskets are Chainstar Pros here, which are new, updated from the last time I was here. Again, I haven't been to all of the basin holes yet, but I can have seen holes B1, B2, B6, B7, and I can now see hole B3, and that is also a Chainstar Pro. I know when I was here last time, I believe I spoke with the course maintenance person, and they were talking about putting new baskets in here as well, and apparently those are in. And my suspicion is the gray baskets that are being used are the baskets that these replaced. Right, so here we are on the walkway from hole B1 to B2, and right across from the dam we have this set of stairs going up, which is also the tee for hole B6, or I should say the alternate tee for hole B6. And one of the things that I had seen is that there may be a new gold tee option for hole B2. So in theory, to get to that, you go up these stairs, and it is a long way up these stairs. When we get to the top of the stairs, we're going to want to take a right. In theory, the gold tee is on the island in the center of this little roundabout up here. So I do not see any tee signs or anything resembling a formal tee here. However, I saw something on UDisc that there was a course option where this was used as the tee spot. If you are playing the gold tee for hole B2, from up here, again, I don't see any formal signs or anything up here, but all of these rocks on the side slopes are out of bounds. We can see the baskets for both B2 and B5, but we want to go to B2. All of the rocks are out of bounds, and the creek along of the basket is also out of bounds. And there is a walking path to get down to the hole through this little gate here. It is a cleared out gravel path that does look like it is intended to be walked on. So we can stay on this. And then this is how we get back down to the tee area for the main tees for hole B2. On the tee of hole B3, at first I thought it was just my imagination or being earlier in the year compared to when I played here last, but it does appear that this first gap further up the left side has been cleared out and is far more viable than it was previously. But it was not my imagination. There are a few trees that I found in stumps that have been cut down. Also, I was unable to verify this, but I believe the pin may have moved further right and back on the green from where it was previously. I'll have to double check that with my previous footage, but it is only about 10 feet away from the rocks on the right side. At first, I thought it was just my imagination that this first gap over the rocks on hole B3 looked bigger, but now that I look here, there are some stumps, and this is definitely a more viable option than it was the last time I played here. Now, I went for this gap on my tee shot, and I missed, but I missed left, so I actually didn't make it around that large tree off the tee that sort of divides the pro tee fairway from the short tee fairway, and ended up with a 5 scrambling out of the weeds to get down there, but no lost discs. And again, this gap is now big enough and close enough to the tee that I decided I'd give it a shot, even though I didn't make it.
There are probably some other trees and brush that has been cut down that I have not mentioned, as it is obvious that updates and maintenance have been happening. Overall, my opinion of the course has not changed since my original playthrough video, link in the description. Franklin still approves. Like, share, and subscribe. Check out my other video linked here or the playlist of my disc golf courses of Vermont and New Hampshire linked in the description.